Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a truly fascinating and honestly super complex tension that's playing out across the internet literally every single day. We're looking at that super fine line between legitimate civil rights activism and the highly profitable world of manufactured online outreach. We're talking about First Amendment auditing, and we're going to ask some pretty tough questions about what actually happens when keeping the government accountable morphs into a viral business model. All right, let's dive right in. To ground our discussion, I want to anchor us to one absolutely crucial quote. Being legally allowed to do something does not automatically make it ethical. We are going to be exploring this exact moral gray area today. The internet is absolutely flooded with videos of citizens pushing the boundaries of what's legally permitted in public spaces. But as we'll see, the motivations behind these videos, they vary wildly. And navigating the ethics means we really have to look past just the letter of the law and look directly at the intent. So, to really understand how we got to this gray area in the first place, we have to be fair and look at what First Amendment auditing was originally supposed to be. I mean, it didn't start as a quest for viral fame, right? It actually began as a foundational civic duty, deeply rooted in our constitutional rights. There's a long, highly protected legal history in the U.S. of citizens recording public officials in public spaces. And the goals here are incredibly important. We're talking about ensuring police accountability, maintaining transparency in government operations, and providing essential public oversight. These are literally the cornerstones of a functioning democracy. Protecting civil rights through citizen journalism ensures that our constitutional liberties are actually respected when the cameras are rolling. When it's done properly, it's a vital public service. And what's really fascinating about good faith activism is its real-world impact. Good auditors, they stay calm, they know their case law inside and out, they never try to unnecessarily escalate a situation, and they pack up and leave once their educational point is made. The result? They have legitimately forced government agencies to update their training. These are undeniable, positive changes born out of real civic vigilance. But here's where the story takes a major shift. Critics argue that a lot of modern audit channels have strayed really far from this original mission. They aren't about testing rights at all anymore. We've reached a turning point where the goal isn't education or accountability. Instead, the conflict itself has become the product. And this shift brings us to a pretty controversial new term, the frauditor. This is a creator who operates under the guise of documenting government accountability, but their actual primary objective is manufacturing confrontations for clicks. The whole objective shifts from, civic duty to just provoking intense emotional reactions from anyone they cross paths with. To understand why this shift even happened, we have to look at the machinery behind it. Social media platforms and their recommendation algorithms actively reward extreme emotional intensity. They prioritize watch time, which is usually driven by rage, anger, and confrontation. The algorithm just absolutely loves viral clips and clickbait thumbnails featuring screaming officials or dramatic freakouts. It's what keeps people scrolling. If you want to see exactly how these algorithms change human behavior, just look at the map, because it is staggering. A peaceful, educational, respectful audit might get a very respectable 50,000 views. But a screaming match, a chaotic, high-tension confrontation, that easily pulls in 500,000 views. That is a massive 10x jump. The incentive structure is incredibly clear. And this rage engagement isn't just about view counts. It builds into a highly lucrative business model. We're talking about basic ad revenue, sure, but also direct live stream donations, super chats during tense standoffs, monthly memberships on platforms like Patreon, and even selling merchandise based on these specific conflicts. This brings us face to face with an undeniable conflict of interest. And honestly, it forces us to ask a very uncomfortable question. If your financial livelihood, like paying your rent, buying your groceries, depends on generating confrontation, are you still objectively testing rights, or are you now just in the business of manufacturing incidents to keep the money flowing? So the crucial point is understanding how to spot the difference. On one hand, a real auditor focuses strictly on public officials, acts calmly, and aims for real transparency and education. On the flip side, the nuisance streamer baits emotional reactions. They'll film random private citizens for humiliation, flat out refuse obvious de-escalation tactics, and then package the whole thing up with clickbait titles. The distinction between actually seeking transparency and just farming outrage clips is pretty stark. This dynamic has spawned a fascinating and highly controversial new subgenre born directly out of this financial system. It's often called the Karen Chaser economy. This is where the camera completely turns away from the police station and points directly at everyday citizens in public spaces, like post offices or libraries. Some creators have practically turned this into a science, intentionally using these calculated steps. First, they invade personal space while technically remaining on public property. Second, they antagonize workers or bystanders. Third, they deliberately ignore universal social cues that scream, "I'm uncomfortable," all to reach step 4, capturing the viral meltdown. They know exactly what they're doing, and they know their audience will reward them handsomely for a video of a public shaming. This calculated formula forces another really uncomfortable question. Are some creators essentially turning ordinary, frustrated people into internet villains purely for profit? Is it really fair to target everyday citizens who are literally just trying to mail a package or go about their day, exploiting their breaking point just to feed a hungry content machine? Zooming out for a second, we can see this issue is actually way bigger than just constitutional auditors. What we're really looking at is a reflection of a broader social media problem. Recommendation systems across the entire internet universally reward polarizing antagonistic behavior. This ties directly into the rise of harmful prank culture, that endless cycle of ragebait, the promotion of main character syndrome, and the mainstreaming of public freakouts and streamer harassment. Which leads us to the ultimate ethical fallout. When you blend civil rights testing with a business model that strictly relies on conflict, are these financially motivated creators fundamentally hurting the civil liberties movement they claim to represent? Has activism basically just become a new genre of reality entertainment? This issue has created a really deep division, even among die-hard civil liberties advocates. On one side, critics argue the public now just associates all auditing with harassment, causing legitimate activists to lose all their credibility. They worry this whole escalation culture completely overshadows the actual constitutional issues. But then on the other side, advocates maintain that exercising rights is sometimes uncomfortable by design. They argue that public employees still require rigorous accountability, and ultimately, being deliberately annoying isn't a crime. Sometimes, applying that exact pressure is exactly what exposes real, hidden abuses of power. But no matter where you fall on that debate, we have to recognize this fundamental truth. The right to record in public matters deeply. The right to question authority matters. The core principle of keeping our government accountable through public documentation is an essential civic right, and it's a right that absolutely must be fiercely protected in any free society. But the profound ethical warning we've explored today is this: when activism becomes dependent on outrage, clicks, and humiliation, eventually people stop seeing the principle and only see the circus. The real danger here is that the internet's financial incentives might be slowly transforming vital constitutional activism into cheap, disposable entertainment. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on. If the algorithms changed, if confrontations stopped paying tomorrow, like take away the super chats, the merch sales, the viral ad revenue, ask yourself, who would still be out there on the sidewalk, camera in hand, quietly fighting for your rights?
If you enjoyed this look back at history, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support helps keep these stories alive and brings more forgotten history to the channel. Thanks for watching.